The wind cut through the cemetery like a slow, deliberate warning as Daniel stood before his father's grave, his coat pulled tight, his heart pulled tighter, when he realized he was not alone and that someone had been waiting there long before he arrived, standing so still and silent that she seemed woven into the gray morning itself. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when broken lives collide, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name, because stories like this remind us why humanity still matters. Daniel had not planned to stay long that morning, but grief never respected schedules, especially not for a single father who carried too many responsibilities and too many memories. His father had been gone for 3 years, yet the ache still sat heavy in Daniel's chest, deepened by the exhaustion of raising his 7-year-old daughter alone while trying to keep a small repair business alive. Every visit to the grave felt like reopening an old wound, but he came anyway, because this was the only place where he allowed himself to be just a son again instead of a provider, a protector, a man pretending to be unbreakable. The headstone was simple, weathered by time and rain, and Daniel knelt to brush away fallen leaves, whispering silent thoughts he never shared with anyone else. That was when he noticed the woman standing a few steps back, her hands folded, her posture calm yet burdened, her presence heavy with something unspoken. She did not look like someone who wandered into cemeteries by accident. Her coat was dark but carefully kept, her hair pulled back neatly, her eyes focused not on Daniel but on the name carved into the stone. Daniel felt a sudden unease, not fear, but a sense that this moment had been waiting for him far longer than he realized. Life had taught him to be cautious, especially after loss had stripped him down to survival mode, but something about her expression held him still. He stood slowly, nodding in acknowledgement, prepared to offer a polite word before leaving, but before he could step away, the woman shifted closer to the grave, her gaze unwavering, and spoke words that landed with such weight that Daniel felt the ground tilt beneath him. She said she had known his father in a way Daniel never had, and that what she carried had been buried longer than the man beneath the stone. Daniel's mind raced, searching memories, replaying years of ordinary routines, quiet dinners, and the stern yet loving man who had raised him alone after his mother passed away young. His father had never been a man of secrets, or at least that was what Daniel believed, clinging to the image of honesty that had been his foundation through every hardship. The woman explained, without drama or exaggeration, that she had once been part of his father's life during a time marked by regret and redemption, a time when mistakes had consequences that echoed for decades. She had not come to disrupt peace or claim anything, only to finally place truth where it belonged. Daniel listened, frozen, as she revealed that his father had helped her escape a life that was spiraling toward destruction, offering her shelter, dignity, and a second chance when no one else would, even when doing so cost him relationships, opportunities, and years of loneliness. As the words settled, Daniel felt something inside him fracture and mend at the same time. The man he had known as strict, quiet, and emotionally reserved suddenly expanded into someone far braver and more compassionate than Daniel had ever imagined. The woman's voice trembled as she spoke of how his father had insisted on anonymity, never allowing gratitude to find him, believing that goodness did not need witnesses. She explained that she had searched for him years later to thank him, only to discover he had already passed, leaving her with a debt she could never repay. Standing at the grave, she said, was the only way she could finally speak what had lived inside her all these years. Daniel struggled to breathe, overwhelmed by the realization that while he had been drowning in his own struggles as a single dad, his father's legacy had quietly been shaping lives beyond their small world. Guilt crept in, sharp and painful, as Daniel remembered the moments he had resented his father's emotional distance, never knowing it was built from sacrifices he chose not to explain. The woman then revealed the final truth that stunned him into silence, that she was not there only to speak of the past, but to offer help in the present, because she had built a life inspired by his father's kindness and had never forgotten where her second chance began. Daniel's first instinct was resistance. Pride had become his armor over the years, forged by necessity and sharpened by survival. He had learned to carry everything alone, believing that strength meant never leaning on others. But as the woman spoke of paying forward the kindness that saved her life, Daniel felt the walls he had built begin to crack. He thought of his daughter, of the nights she asked questions about her grandfather, of the weight he carried trying to be everything for her while silently falling apart. The woman did not offer charity, she offered partnership, understanding, and the continuation of a legacy rooted in compassion. In the days that followed, Daniel found himself reflecting deeply on his father's life, recognizing patterns he had overlooked, moments of quiet generosity, nights his father came home exhausted yet fulfilled. He began to see his own struggles through a different lens, not as signs of failure, but as crossroads where choices mattered. Slowly, with cautious steps, Daniel allowed change to enter his life. He accepted guidance for his business, support for his daughter's education, and something far more difficult to accept, the permission to hope again. The mysterious woman did not become a savior, she became a reminder that goodness multiplies when shared and that healing often arrives in unexpected forms. Daniel's relationship with his daughter deepened as he shared stories of her grandfather, stories now enriched with courage and quiet heroism. The little girl listened with wide eyes, proud of a legacy she had never known yet somehow inherited. Daniel found himself visiting the grave not just in sorrow, but in gratitude, speaking aloud the things he wished he had said while his father was alive. He no longer felt alone there, because he understood now that love leaves footprints long after we are gone. As seasons changed, so did Daniel. The heaviness in his chest slowly gave way to purpose, and the exhaustion that once defined him softened into resilience. He began volunteering his skills, helping others the way his father once had, discovering that healing flowed both ways. The mysterious woman faded back into her own life, her role fulfilled, but her presence remained etched in Daniel's heart as the catalyst that transformed grief into meaning. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you have lost or a kindness that changed your life, please take a moment now to like, share, and engage with this video, because stories like these live on through those who feel them. Before this story ends, leave a comment sharing what legacy you hope to leave behind or whose kindness shaped your life more than you ever realized. Standing once more before his father's grave, Daniel felt a calm he had never known, understanding at last that love does not end, it evolves, and that sometimes the most powerful words are spoken not by the dead, but by the living who carry their truth forward.